In the latest pod news.
Good afternoon, Charlie. Tell me about your dreams.
Limetown returns for Season 2 on the 30th of October. The first season had over 10 million downloads. And another podcast for you to know about, Cross Country Coffee Roadshow. It's a podcast travelling across America, one coffee shop at a time. So far, they haven't even been to a Starbucks. The Washington Post's upcoming daily podcast will be called Post Reports and presented by Martine Powers. It's been announced. Anchor is promising to build a podcast studio in your office for free if you're in New York and if you pay for the equipment. Meanwhile, Adobe have inked a deal with 1 million ads to offer personalised audio advertising on Adobe Advertising Cloud. Podnews' editor, that's me, gets interviewed in the Sydney Morning Herald about the massive areas of podcast growth still to come. Last weekend, the ACRAs, the Australian Commercial Radio Awards, were held in Melbourne and Victoria. There were 3 new categories for podcasts. Ozpod has, meanwhile, made available audio of all of its sessions. Beto Arcos, a Mexican radio presenter, now has a podcast. It's called The Cosmic Neighborhood, and we link to an article of him talking about it. In a place called L'Alfaz del Pi in Valencia in Spain, probably pronounced very differently, the mayor has funded a podcast course. Meanwhile, there is, quote, very little evidence of podcast penetration in Spain, according to a talk from Spanish podcast company Cuonda, which concludes that the industry has lots of problems to solve, but lots of opportunities. And PodLabs is a new podcast studio and classroom teaching the art of podcast creation. It's based in Washington, D.C.